It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not connections or charm or even education. What separates winners from losers is something far deeper, far quieter, and far more powerful. It's a decision made in silence when no one is watching, when the applause is gone, when the motivation runs dry, when it's just you and the mirror and the fire or the lack of it inside you. Winners decide every single day to rise, not because it's easy, not because it's glamorous, but because they refuse to lose the war against comfort, distraction, and doubt. The losers, they wait, they hesitate, they hope. They talk about potential, but they never convert it into pain, into practice, into performance. The winners, they do. They execute, they show up, they commit, they repeat. Not perfectly, but relentlessly. Because winners know something the losers don't. Success is not sexy. It's sweat, it's silence, it's sacrifice. It's waking up early and staying up late and saying no to things that feel good in the moment to build something that feels right forever. Winners understand the weight of discipline. Losers chase dopamine. Winners build routines. Losers drift in reaction. Winners walk by vision. Losers wander by default. And the difference? It starts with mindset. Winners don't believe life happens to them. They believe life happens through them. They don't wait for clarity. They create it. They don't wait for perfect plans. They move with what they've got and adjust as they go. Losers are spectators in the game of life. Winners, they build the stadium. And that mindset, it's not natural. It's forged. Forged in moments of failure, in days when nothing works and nobody sees, in weeks where progress feels invisible. But they keep showing up anyway, because that's what separates them. Not feelings, not moods, decisions, and belief. Not the loud kind, quiet, convicted kind. The kind that whispers, even if no one claps, even if no one comes, even if no one believes, I will still build this. Winners don't need validation. They need vision. Losers wait to be told what to do. Winners take ownership of their life, their path, their time, their choices, and they protect their energy like warriors. Losers say yes to everything and lose themselves in the process. Winners say no to almost everything so they can say yes to the right thing. They guard their mornings. They dominate their evenings. They don't fill their time, they forge it. They don't let the clock control them, they control everything they can. Because winners know time is life. And life is too short to spend on people who drain you, habits that break you, and conversations that go nowhere. Winners walk with clarity. And clarity isn't found, it's chosen. Losers chase motivation. Winners create structure. Losers make excuses. Winners make standards. They decide what matters and build their life around it. And those standards, they show up in everything. How they speak, how they walk, how they respond to chaos, how they treat others. Winners operate at a different frequency, not because they're better, because they refuse to stay average. Winners don't envy. They study. They don't copy. They create. They don't look for shortcuts. They become the road others follow. That's what sets them apart. They don't need perfect. They need purpose. And when you live from purpose, you walk into rooms differently. You say no without guilt. You speak truth, even when it shakes your voice. You stay committed, even when it would be easier to walk away. Because to the winner, the dream is not a wish, it's an obligation. They don't try. They train. They don't dabble. They decide they don't just want more. They become more focused, more intentional, more grounded. And what makes them unstoppable? Resilience. Losers take failure personally. Winners take it strategically. They use it. They harvest it. They let it carve away the fluff. and reveal the version of them that can't be broken. Because when you've walked through hell and kept walking, success doesn't impress you. It humbles you. And that humility, that's the secret weapon. Winners never feel entitled. They feel entrusted. Entrusted with a mission. Entrusted with potential. Entrusted with the responsibility to make this life count. That's what separates them. They don't take this moment for granted. They don't coast. They conquer. They wake up with fire, not because every day is perfect, but because they know every day is precious. Losers wait for the mood. Winners create the movement. They move mountains not by chance, but by choice. So ask yourself, what side are you on? Because every day you're deciding through action, through silence, through the little choices no one sees. And the truth? You're either building a future or delaying it. You're either stepping into greatness or running from it. You're either becoming a winner or excusing why you're not. There is no middle ground. And the beautiful thing? You get to choose. Right now, no one else gets to make that decision for you. Not your past, not your parents, not your boss, your friends, your pain, or your doubt. This choice is yours. And that's what terrifies most people. Because if you're responsible for becoming a winner, then you have to admit that you've been choosing something less all along. But that truth, it's not your enemy, it's your freedom. Because if you chose comfort before, you can choose courage now. If you chose distraction before, you can choose discipline now. If you chose silence before, you can choose to speak, to lead, to reason. That's what separates them. Winners don't live in denial. They live in truth. And they let that truth break them open, not to destroy them, but to rebuild them. They let the pain become their fuel. They let the failures become their teachers. They let the setbacks sharpen their edge until they are so focused, so fierce, so free, that even if they lose, they learn. Even if they fall, they rise. Because the winner isn't the one who never gets knocked down. It's the one who keeps getting back up. That's the unglamorous, unfiltered, unbreakable truth of what it takes to win. It's not the highlight reel. It's the 5 a.m. alarms, the weekends in the lab, the solitude, the sacrifices, the stretch beyond what's comfortable, beyond what's expected. Winners are made in the hours losers don't see. In the moments no one will ever post about. In the grind that never makes it to social media. That's where the separation happens. That's where the line gets drawn. Not in the moment you win the trophy, but in the thousands of moments before, when you could have quit but chose not to. When you could have coasted, but pushed harder. When you could have waited, but moved. This is why winners carry themselves with a different kind of peace. Because they know they earned their place. They know they fought for their character. They know they didn't cheat the process. And that peace, it's something losers will never know. Because you can't fake the inner knowing that comes from becoming who you said you would be. So if you want to know what separates winners from losers, it's this. Winners build themselves. Losers blame. Winners train through pain. Losers hide from it. Winners rise with vision. Losers sink in confusion. Winners own the day. Losers waste it. Winners choose courage again and again and again until it becomes who they are. And you, right now, you're standing on the edge of that choice. No matter where you've been, no matter how long you've delayed, you still get to decide. Will you keep living like a loser in disguise? Or will you finally rise like the winner you were born to be? This isn't about hype. This isn't about performance. This is about identity. Because everything changes the moment you say, I am done losing to myself. I am done surrendering to fear. I am done dimming my light because the world taught me to shrink. I'm choosing greatness, not one day, this day, every day. That's when it begins. That's when you become unshakable. That's when life starts to bend in your direction. Not because it got easier, but because you got stronger. That's what separates the few who rise from the many who never do. And the only question left is this: which one will you be? Because the world isn't waiting on more opinions. It's not desperate for more critics, more spectators, more people explaining why they couldn't, why they didn't, why it wasn't fair. The world is waiting on you. The world is waiting on one more voice to step up and say, I won't live in fear anymore. One more soul to declare, my time is now. One more leader to resonate with noise, but with action. That's what separates the winners from the losers. Losers talk. Winners move. Losers defend their limits. Winners shatter them. Losers tell stories about the past. Winners write new ones, day by day, hour by hour, decision by decision. And the secret? It's not a secret at all. The winners just do the things losers refuse to do. They plan. They practice. They execute even when they don't feel like it. They build routines that support the mission. They engineer discipline into their day, not as punishment, but as a lifestyle. Because winners know motivation fades. But systems? Systems sustain. Winners don't gamble their future on how they feel when they wake up. They design it. They don't need to be in the mood to win. They've trained themselves to move regardless of the mood. And when setbacks command, winners don't panic. They pivot. They don't fold. They focus. They don't collapse. They calculate. They don't quit. They recommit. Because quitting isn't an option when you've already burned the bridges to your old life. When you've already decided that average is the enemy, that mediocrity is the addiction you refuse to relapse into, that playing small is no longer part of your story. And hear this clearly. Being a winner isn't about being the best. It's about being your best. It's about waking up with integrity and going to sleep with peace. It's about knowing that whatever life threw at you, you threw back more. More resilience, more fire, more excellence, more effort. That you didn't coast, that you didn't hide, that you didn't shrink, that you took every ounce of potential inside you and you used it. That's a winner. Not someone who always gets it right, but someone who never walks away from who they're becoming. Someone who fails, yes, but fails forward. Someone who's willing to be bad at something today, just to be brilliant at it later. Someone who's obsessed with growth and who understands that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. That discipline isn't bondage, it's freedom. That the grind isn't suffering, it's sculpting. Because winners don't look at the mountain and wish it were smaller. They train until the mountain bows. And if you've been waiting for permission, this is it. This is the call. This is the moment. This is the line in the sand. You've been playing with your future for far too long. You've been flirting with greatness, but still married to excuses. You've been close, but close doesn't count anymore. The world doesn't need almost winners. It needs you at full capacity. So stand up, stand tall, not for applause, but because you're done crawling through life when you were built to command it. Done blaming, done delaying, done asking, what if it doesn't work? Start asking, what if it does? What if everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of one decision? The decision to stop living like a loser and start acting like the winner you already are. And once you make that decision, really make it not just in your mind, but in your bones, in your breath, in your behavior. You'll never go back. Because something inside you will have shifted. You won't recognize yourself in your old habits. The things that used to distract you will feel like poison. The people who used to pull you down will feel like ghosts. And the desires that used to control you, they'll kneel before your discipline. That's the power of a true decision. It rewrites your identity. It erases the gap between intention and action. It makes you allergic to excuses. It awakens the part of you that's been buried beneath fear, failure, and false narratives. And suddenly, you remember. You remember who you were before the world taught you to settle. You remember the hunger you had before you were told to tone it down. You remember that fire that burned before comfort crept in and made you numb. You remember that you were never meant to be average. And from that moment forward, you live different. You walk into rooms with different energy, not arrogant, but anchored. You speak with weight, not noise, but substance. You listen deeply, move intentionally, and think strategically. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer rush, you execute. You no longer wait for confidence, you generate it through repeated action. Because now everything you do has purpose. Your time has purpose. Your rest has purpose. Your movement, your words, your decisions, every one of them is a brick in the foundation of your future. You're not hoping anymore. You're building. And building is messy. It's hard. It's slow. But it's worth it. Because while others are scrolling, you're sculpting. While others are complaining, you're creating. While others are hesitating, you're moving. And what once felt impossible, now it feels inevitable. Not because it's easy, but because you're different. Because you've crossed a threshold most never will. You've stopped chasing convenience and started chasing character. You've stopped choosing what's fun and started choosing what's foundational. And even though you're tired and the road is long and the weight is heavy, you carry it because you know where it's taking you, because you know what it's costing you to carry it. And more importantly, you know what it would cost you to drop it. You're not just doing this for success. You're doing this for your soul because you refuse to live a life that looks good on the outside but feels hollow within. You refuse to be another voice that talked about what they could have been. You refuse to die with the best parts of you still buried in hesitation. So you keep showing up. You keep choosing the path of the winner, not just in public, but in the unseen hours where no one is cheering, where no one is clapping, where only you know what you did today. Because those hours, that's where the war is won. That's what separates the names the world remembers from the ones it never knew. And if you're still breathing, it's not too late to become the former. It's not too late to choose, to decide, to win. Not just once, but daily. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Because that is the moment the winner in you is forged. And that version of you, the forged one, the weathered one, the one who's been tested and tempered and still stands, that version is dangerous, not to others, but to mediocrity, to excuses, to the smallness that once ruled your life. Because once you become that version of yourself, you can't unsee what you've become. You can't go back to tolerating low standards. You can't fake enthusiasm anymore for things that don't align. You can't waste time with people who drain your vision instead of fueling it. Because now you're led by something deeper, a mission, a code, a personal ethic that says, every step I take from here must be worthy of the calling I carry. Winners don't just move with strategy. They move with honor. They understand the weight of their life. They know the cost of their gifts if they're wasted. And so they steward them. That's the word. Steward. Winners are stewards of time, of energy, of emotion, of opportunity. They don't let days disappear. They demand a return on every hour because they know your time is your life and how you spend it is how you're remembered. So, what are you building? What are you pouring into? What are you sacrificing for? Because if it doesn't light your soul on fire, if it doesn't challenge you to evolve, if it doesn't push you toward legacy, why are you giving it your life? Winners ask those questions. They don't fear the answers, they live by them. And when they feel themselves drifting, they recalibrate. They don't spiral, they self-correct. They don't disappear, they double down. Because their vision is non-negotiable. Their purpose is not for sale. Their identity is not reactive, it's anchored. And that anchoring, that comes from the deepest truth of all. Winners are forged in isolation, in the hours when no one sees, in the seasons when no one understands, in the silence where the work is thankless, the process is brutal, and the results are invisible. But they keep going because They don't need the world to validate their becoming. They just need to become. And the reward? It's not the money, not the status, not the recognition. It's the peace, the quiet, unshakable peace that comes from knowing I didn't fold, I didn't fake it, I didn't flinch. I earned this. I built this. I became this. That's what separates them. That's what sets them apart. Not what they have, but who they had to become to have it. And that can never be taken away. So if you want to be a winner, don't chase the result. Chase the refinement. Chase the fire that shapes your discipline. Chase the grind that reveals your greatness. Because when the dust settles, when the storm clears, when the spotlight fades, the world will not remember what you said you'd do. They'll remember what you did. They'll remember how you walked, how you led, how you lived. So live now like that memory is already being written. Because it is. Right now, in this breath, in this moment, you're not waiting for the future. You're creating it. You're not hoping for success. You're building it. You're not dreaming of being a winner. You're proving it. And that's what separates you now.